There we go. Looks like the recording has started. Thank you. All right. Well, call the meeting to order at 10:02. I've seen a couple more people just join, so please make sure you click on the link in the chat and sign in so we have good attendance. Tracy is unable to be on the meeting today. She did forward an email to myself and Jennifer, basically stating she has required training all week. She apologizes. She did send us the performance data as well as the action items. She goes, there's nothing out of line with the probe data for December, and they are moving forward with the 2 action items. And Jeff, I know you're on the call, so do you have anything that you want to update for those?
I do not.
Okay. All right. And Jennifer, you have those, you did get those 2 attachments, right? So that you have them.
I did. Do you want me to show the tracker, or do you want to go straight to the stats?
We can go straight, I think straight to the stats. I mean, she gave and we can just scroll through because there's nothing, nothing out of the ordinary.
There we go. Make it bigger.
There we go. Yeah, now I can see it now. So we don't see anything there that's much different than what we've seen in the past. Go ahead and scroll through. Yeah. And again, Jeff, if you have anything to add to this, please feel free. But it looks like we're continuing with the same results as what we've had in the past.
That's the end.
Okay.
I will make a comment in regards to the tracker, and that's for the ECATs, correct? That first item, or subpoint A?
Hold on, let me get in there and I'll just share it.
Yeah.
Oh, it's her overall tracker.
Yeah, that's the first one is for the Pitkin and Vale call routing.
Do we have anybody on from Pitkin or Vale that can update us as to progress?
I think Brett joined.
You don't know what you don't know until you go into RFP, but
yeah, hi, we're still working through it with mostly Motorola right now. Still in progress, no change.
Oh, okay.
Well, I know that we're way over time.
I can see that we have had calls with Intrado and Motorola also internally with Lumen. So we're working on some stuff, and Brett will be getting with you and your organization to be able to share that.
Let me know.
Yeah, I didn't know you guys had met.
Yeah, that happened, I think it was the end of last week. So we're trying to get some other data together, and hopefully we'll be able to present it beginning of next week.
Okay, thanks.
All right, and then the other one was the internal discussions with the multiple states. Jeff, any update on that?
Unfortunately, I don't have any. I missed
Okay.
the last meeting that they had on that.
Okay. All right, so we'll get an update on that next month from Tracy. Next is the ECATS deployment. Jeff, anything on that?
No, the only thing I was going to say on that is that if anybody is still challenged with any of the stuff that needs to be filled out, if any PSAPs are still required to do that, feel free to reach out to Tracy, Courtney, or myself, and we can go ahead and get help set up for you.
All right, thank you.
Kathy, if I could add,
Sure.
I know that Entrado has, excuse me, set up 4 training sessions for PSAPs that are adopting ECATs. And actually one of them is going on as we speak. So if you are in the process of standing up ECATs and have not yet been invited to one of those training sessions, please email Tracy and she will get you into one of those training sessions. And I see Jeff has a hand raised.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask, somewhere in conversations I've had in the last month, it was mentioned that there was a potential $82,000 charge by Entrado for storage of data associated with ECATs. And I don't know if that's just an evil rumor or if anybody knows about that. To my knowledge, none of our ECCs have been charged for that. I just didn't know where that came from or if it's a thing.
Is Joe on the call? I don't see him. I don't want to speak for Joe Bankert.
Which he's on the call, Jennifer.
Oh, Joe, are you here? Okay, well, Boulder and Bretza was the person or the entity that had brought that up. But to my knowledge, they're the only one that have incurred or encountered that particular kind of charge. And I would like to have this question be on the next ESInet users group agenda, because I had a conversation with Joe after our meeting last time, and I'm still unclear as to what that particular need is, whether it's unique to Boulder because they did not have any kind of storage before implementing ECATs or what. But I have not been informed of any other charge along those lines with regards to the ECATS project.
Great, thanks. I just like to get some clarity. Oh, Jeff's got his hand up.
Yeah, I'm not aware of anything on our side either as far as the price. It's all based off the tariff. So I'm not aware of anything, but I'd like to get some clarification also.
So I will add that to the agenda for next month and maybe send that question out to Tracy and Courtney as well. Oh, good. There you are, Joe.
Joe, go ahead.
Yeah, I am. We'd like clarification as well.
Great.
So I guess, Joe, you are seeing that charge, or your PSAPs or the PSAPs up there are seeing that charge?
Yeah, what the Entrado phone system had local storage, and because with going to ECATS, we're going to have centralized storage. We're going to lose our local storage, and the charge was $80,000 per year of data to be uploaded to the ECAT storage. Centralized ECAT storage.
Yeah, to migrate your existing ECATS data to the new online statewide setup.
Yeah, because we're going to lose our local storage by going to ECATS.
And Joe, are we talking ECATS data or are you talking about voice logging? Because it seems like,
Not
just ECATS data isn't that much,
Yeah.
Not voice logging. That's a separate system.
Okay.
Yeah, that's why it's quite surprising.
Are you currently on ECATS now, or is it a different?
No, we just have the regular Entrado call handling system, which has local storage of call data.
Through their call reporting data, the Power Metrics
Yes.
or Power MIS? Okay. So yeah, I don't think that would apply to every single PSAP from what I'm hearing. It'd be the ones that do want, like Matt had mentioned, that would want to migrate that data over. So it'd be the one-time charge to migrate that per year. Is what it sounds like.
Yeah, we're for some reason we're losing the ability to store that data locally. So, and we have to then because there's a retention period that's required.
All right, thanks. I'm just curious as to why you guys are losing that ability and others are not. I guess I just would like more clarification on that. And Daryl, I'm sorry, I saw you put your hand up.
Yeah, that was just the same question I was going to have. It doesn't make any sense to me that Boulder would lose the ability to store their data locally if their phone system is not changing, since it's a phone system MIS data that they're storing. So I'd be interested in learning more about that.
Well, we're upgrading from one version of Viper to another version, but we're told it's because of going to the ECATs. That's my understanding, that we now have to have centralized storage only.
Okay. I'll have to have a conversation with our vendor on that too, to see how that works, for us, because I've heard nothing of this. And what version are you going to for the phones?
I think it's 7.
Okay. Yeah, because
And my concern is that, maybe we're discovering this because of where we are, but other authorities are going to find out later that it's going to affect their access.
okay.
I do know the
Yeah.
change from 6 to 7 on Viper is a major change in the architecture, and that may be part of it too. But I can't speak for Entrado on that one.
Yeah, Joseph, this is Rich Johnson with Entrado. I don't handle either the ECATs or the Viper, but I will reach out internally. I'm not. I don't understand why the two would be tied together in that fashion. So I'll notify the appropriate teams on our side to reach out to you and get clarification there.
That'd be helpful.
Matt, go ahead.
Yeah, hi, I'm Matt from Lita. I think we encountered the same thing as we recently just did an upgrade to our Viper from Viper 5 to Viper 7. And there was, I don't remember the exact cost, but I remember it being pretty high, the quote from the ECATS team to import our historical data from our Power MIS up into ECATS. So that was the one-time charge that I think they were going to ask of us. I think the decision was made to just keep historical data and keep our Power MIS server up for our retention period, and then all new call delivery data would be going to ECATS moving forward with the new system. So if that helps clarify.
Well, yeah, but yours is a one-time charge, I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, Joe, but weren't you told this was going to be an annual, or was it one time as well?
No, it's a one-time charge.
Okay.
But the one-time charge was $80,000 per year of data, which winds up being $400,000, which is, it seems like leveraging off of this tariff change or change to ECATS, a whole lot of money that doesn't seem reasonable and isn't reflected in the tariff.
Right.
Right. It's making a little bit more sense to me to take historical data using one system and basically taking that 5 years worth of data and loading it on the ECAT system. So now you can use one system to look back from your previous 5 years that was data, retained from another system. It makes a little bit more sense to me now. Matt's solution seems pretty good, that you could that maybe you just keep the old system since it's already paid for and downloaded there, available for historical data, and then use the new system for the new stuff. Again, my guess is a year from now, then you'll have a year's worth of ECATs on your new system, and then you would use your old system for the previous 4 years if you have to retain it for 5. But let me reach out. I'll reach out to the VP, Randy Young, for Viper, and I'll talk to Tiffany over at ECATS and have them reach out to you about that.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, Rich, and if you could send that to myself and Jennifer as well, that would be great.
And Brent is certainly exploring other options because of the cost, but the problem is it's a huge charge that isn't reflected in the tariff. And, it may be that other people will be making changes after this and will be impacted.
Right, that's quite a surprise to get that type of bill.
Well, and
Although-
it's probably definitions around the tariff too as to what ECATS was. It's a new system going forward versus, a new system using with historical access, right? So I don't know if it was defined down to that level in the tariff that the ECATS could be used to pull data from previous systems. So I think that's probably where some of the confusion is too.
Okay. Jennifer, did you have something to say?
Actually, Rich said it for me.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, Rich, thanks. I appreciate you looking into that and getting back to us with that information and clarification.
Sure.
Any other questions or comments on that right now?
Hey, just one more thing. This is Patty with Boulder.
Go ahead.
We are moving to the 7.1.
7.1. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, just to confirm.
Thanks. Okay. Well, we will wait and see what information we get back from that. Next on the agenda, if everybody's ready to move forward, is old business. We have the strategic plan revision. Jennifer had sent that out last month sometime. Sorry, I don't remember the date. And then during the meeting last month, we decided to wait till January for any discussion on or voting on acceptance or changes to the plan. So here we are in January already, and I'm hoping that everybody got a chance to peruse this. Again, I want to thank Matt and Joe for all their work on this. There was a whole team, also Andrew and Jeff, myself, Jennifer, Daryl, who looked into this and made changes or suggested changes. So I think from here out, we're looking to adopt this as the next generation 911 strategic plan. I've never done this before, so Jennifer or Daryl, if you could guide me on what steps we need to do, that would be great.
Absolutely. I think the first question is did everybody have a chance to read it over? The clean version, and by clean, I mean incorporated everybody's feedback and changes and updates. So then it's just like anything else we would vote on. Entertain a motion to approve and take the vote whenever you're ready, Kathy.
Okay.
And I think, and I'm gonna actually, sorry, I'm gonna defer to Daryl. If the ESInet users group approves, does it have to go to the full task force for approval, or as well, or is it final approval come from the ESInet users group? I don't know the answer to that, but Daryl will.
So just for precedent, what we did last year is we actually sent out a sort of an electronic ballot in the form of a Google form to each of the 911 authorities and gave them a deadline to respond yes or no. And that's how we took the vote. But we did not take it to the full task force after that, because it's all of the 911 authorities who are the members of the ESInet users group that were approving it.
Okay. Joe, go ahead. I saw you have your hand up.
Yeah, I've not read the entire document. I've gotten through the first 16 pages. And in that pages, it talks about the limitations that Colorado doesn't have a top-down approach to 911 system administration. And it seems to be asking, to me, the legislature to give the PUC authority to regulate PSAP operations, training, quality assurance, emergency medical dispatch protocols, minimum performance standards for systems and personnel oversight of PSAP operations, set PSAP operation standards and requirements, has centralized purchasing decisions and purchasing power, including statewide purchasing of call handling equipment and CAD systems. I don't know where this is coming from. I don't know of anyone who is looking to evolve beyond the local control model that actually has been pretty successful for for Colorado, and that Brett supports.
Go ahead, Jennifer.
I can assure you that it does not make a recommendation for PUC regulation and oversight of PSAPs or anything, actually. The strategic plan does document our current state of 911 in Colorado. It documents the current regulation and oversight, and it documents, I do have this highlighted because I wanted to make sure that we had the right current costs. But this document, which was written extensively in this version by Joe and Matt and Kathy and Jeff and Andrew, does not make a recommendation for PUC oversight. It makes it has a conversation in this section for future 911 governance. It talks about mission critical partners and what they said, which was that we didn't need to rush to transition to 911. It says that the PUC has the authority to regulate basic emergency service, and that authority does not extend to PSAP operations. It says there has been no movement to create a centralized 911. It states that there are benefits that could be realized under state 911 administration, but that they have not been enough to overcome the desire for maintaining local control. And it talks about the concern that one-size-fits-all solutions could limit responsiveness. So there's nothing in here that calls for statewide oversight of PSAPs, regulation of oversight of PSAPs. It does say here that there is a challenge to finding ways to move forward without impacting local control. And it talks about CCOA, and it talks about the enterprise legislation to create a statewide funding mechanism. But there is no call in here for PUC oversight or regulation of PSAPs.
In the document, it states, for example, that because the Colorado doesn't have a top-down approach to 911 system administration, this is a consensus at the time of this plan, but it's subject to modifications due to factors including evolving opinions and needs of 911 stakeholders. And then as you go throughout this first section, there are a number of places where it talks about the limitations on the ability for state control. It talks about the TFOPA maturity model, which calls for states to have a 911 administrator and a strong administration of 911. The opposite of the way we operate here. And because the continued repetition of the shortfalls, which Brett wouldn't agree are shortfalls, that's where I'm saying it seems to be asking for those types of changes. If you're saying these are shortfalls, these are problems, these are limitations on the ability of the 911 service to achieve what it should be achieving, then that certainly seems like you're asking for changes.
Well, I see your point, but I think that this document really strikes a balance of good discussion on what else is out there in the country and how other states are doing things, and highlighting the value that we have in Colorado, which is local control and a really robust conversation at the state level on how we want to move forward. mostly in this ESInet users group.
Well, and then we now have a bill that's being introduced that would give the commission the directive to have a rulemaking to establish minimum operational standards for public answering points, minimal training standards, minimal equipment standards, service level standards. I mean, it seems like we're starting down the road to have what this document is saying, the limitations of and problems with 911 service in this state. I mean, it seems like it's a roadmap in this document to move away from local control, and then it seems like we have a bill that's starting to move away from local control. And you know, this document may be used to support this legislation.
Daryl, go ahead.
So I know that Jennifer has spent a lot of time incorporating comments from multiple editors, including Matt. And Jennifer, I don't know if you can mention who else, including Joe, Matt Gage, who else was involved in the editing of the document?
Kathy and Jeff Irvin and Andrew Dameron also provided significant input.
And there was a lot of redline. There was a lot of redline in this. And I know that I know that Jennifer took your input and comments very seriously and incorporated it into the document. I can't make a motion because I'm not a voting member of the ESInet users group, but my suggestion and recommendation at this point is because this input has already been considered and incorporated into the document, that it be sent out to the 911 authorities so that they can read it and ask for them to individually vote on it. If they feel like it is not meeting the right balance of describing what needs to be improved and what we're doing right in Colorado, then they can vote against it, and we can go back to the drawing board on another revision.
That's fair.
Just my 2 cents. Thank you.
Okay. Oh, Tracy, go ahead.
And just timing wise, what is the timeline that you would anticipate to send that out and get the turnaround feedback from authorities or vote or whatever you're calling it?
Well, we certainly want to give people time to be able to go through the entire document. It is pretty large and full of a lot of information. So, Jennifer, what would you be comfortable with that? 2 weeks or?
Well, we have a month between this meeting and the next meeting. So if we sent it out this week and gave everybody until what I would say February 12th ahead of our next meeting.
Thank you. That's great.
Go ahead, Joe.
I think Darrell's recommendation is fair, that it be voted on. This is a 63-page document. I think I would send out within the next week just an email highlighting, or provide you to send out highlighting the portions that give Brett's a concern.
Okay.
I'm sorry, Joe, are you asking the ESInet users group to send out an email with your concerns?
I'll be happy to send it out directly. I didn't know if it would be more appropriate for the user group to send it out. In comments of anyone else, any other authority.
Yeah, I don't know that either, Daryl or Jennifer.
I would say that that's up to you, Kathy, as the chair of the ESInet users group. But the way the listserv is set up, I don't think there's anything stopping Joe from sending the email out himself if he wants to.
Okay.
Okay.
I don't understand a lot about listservs, so I apologize.
Yeah, Joe, if you want to send that out to this group, we can certainly send you the address, the email address that will go out to everybody. And then you can highlight that from your guys' point of view, if that works for you.
Yeah, everyone is authorized, or anyone who receives from the user group is authorized to send through it.
I believe so. Daryl, is that correct?
The settings are individual, but I will double check, Joe, to make sure that you have access.
Okay.
Thank you.
And Joe, you're okay with doing that?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
My concern was I didn't know if I had the ability to do that and to get to all the right people. You know, that to individually addressing could be more of a challenge than it would be to send it through the listserv. So I appreciate that.
Okay.
Kathy, if I could.
Sure.
I just want to clarify that in the red line process and in the feedback process that we went through when you guys all provided input and comments, every comment that people made, everybody made, was incorporated into this current revision. So the input that Matt had, and the input that Joe had, and the input that Kathy and everybody had, all of those were incorporated as changes into the current version. I do think that the current version strikes a really good balance between describing what is the current environment, which I think is important in a strategic plan, and describing where we go next as far as next gen 911 implementation. I think it's important to look at the fact that when we implement pieces of next gen to achieve the overall next gen goal, right, which is it's nebulous, we're looking at how do we fund that and how do we get these improvements or network goals to happen. And the way that we've got it set up in the state is that that doesn't happen without ESInet users group conversation and task force conversation and multiple inputs to, yes, we think this is a good idea, or no, we don't think this is a good idea. I'm extremely proud of the robust conversation that we have at the statewide level for PSAPs to get together and talk about how they want their 911 system to look. And I think that the strategic plan does a really good job describing that particular process and how we move forward as a group. So I appreciate everybody's input into the current version. I appreciate the time and the care that has been put into this, this draft. No, you know, I didn't write it. Daryl didn't write it. It really was written by PSAP representatives and all of you. So I just want to say thank you very much for the care that you took. And it really is a representative document of a statewide conversation. And you guys should all be proud.
Thanks, Jennifer. Appreciate that. Okay, so the plan will be after this meeting, Joe will be sending out his document with his concerns, and that'll go out to everybody on the listserv so that they can see that. And then Jennifer will send it out so that everybody can take a look, and then we'll are you going to send the vote out with it, or are we going to send that out later, Jennifer?
Well, Tracy's got her hand up, so I want to make sure we address that question.
Yeah, okay,
Sorry.
I was gonna go to her. Sorry, go ahead, Tracy.
No, that's okay.
No, it dovetails exactly what Kathy and Jennifer are touching on, which is the opportunities for continuing or re-emphasizing the robust conversation that Jennifer described. We've got the task force meeting tomorrow, and I'm sure this is on the agenda and will take up time. And then the plan will be laid out for all of the authorities also on that call, so they have in their mind, they need to allot sufficient time to read the 63-page document and respond accordingly. And then I know the CCOA has a meeting on the 18th. So again, just continuing all of this good discussion, you know, and I appreciate the thanks to those who provided input and all of that, but sharing all these comments and feedback, especially like Joe's, in that public forum, like tomorrow's task force meeting, and then further discussion at the CCOA would be extremely helpful for that comfort level and buy into the process.
Okay, thanks, Tracy. So continuing, I still think once Joe is able to get his concerns out to everybody, Jennifer can send out the clean version. I think based on that, it's my humble opinion that there's enough information out there to have a vote on it. We don't have to do that until, you know, it doesn't have to be done until right before the next users group, the ESInet users group meeting. But I'm comfortable with going ahead and doing that if that works for everybody. It's not just my say. So if everybody's comfortable moving forward with the vote, that's fine. If not, I know that Daryl has said, you know, we do this every year, but I don't want to give the appearance of trying to push it or rush it through either. We want to make sure everybody is comfortable with the document. So that's where I stand with it right now. I think we can take a look at what Joe sends out, and we can take a look at the clean copy for Jennifer, and we can hopefully do a vote before the next ESInet users group meeting. Any comments or concerns about that? Okay, hearing none. That will be the plan. And I think we're good. Go ahead.
Sounds good. I was just going to let you know, I added this to the task force agenda with your name on it as the ESInet users group chair.
Okay, thank you. All right, well, I think that's where we are with this. So I think we can move forward to the next agenda item. Is Jeff still on? I can't tell. I gotta look real quick.
Can I add something real quick before we move on?
Yeah, go ahead.
So Joe, I have one request for you for the email that you're going to send out outlining your concerns, and that is to be specific. If you have concerns with specific language, to call out that language, provide page numbers, let us know where we can find the language, because it's really hard to make changes based on generalizations. And I think you understand that from a document editing point of view.
My start of it is taking the paragraphs which in there are language that Brett's will be concerned with, and highlighting the concerning language and identifying the pages on which it appears.
Very good. Thank you.
All right. Thank you to both of you. The next item is Jackie. Go ahead.
Sorry, that's what I was trying to do. I just wanted to clarify something, that Joe had input to these documents and brought these concerns to the group, correct? As you were going through the document. I just want to verify that that happened. And because those concerns were not addressed the way he wanted, he wants everyone to know his concerns. Is that correct? Am I hearing this correctly? Or was Joe not able to, Joe, were you not able to bring up your concerns in the group that drafted that document?
No, I had in these areas, I think my recollection is I had a general discussion, not proposed language to replace it. And I know other people had told me they were also concerned about this language.
Okay.
And so, yes, I reviewed the document. I made suggested revisions, other people made suggested revisions. And yes, I'm highlighting issues that Bretson still has with the document.
Okay. Thank you. I just wanted to make sure they were originally brought up as well. Thanks.
Okay, so now I'm just going to ask for some clarification because so the concerns are with the new document that Jennifer sent out, correct? Because the old document had different language in it. Is that correct, Joe?
I believe some of this language is still from the original document.
Okay.
But that I think there were a handful of us who were active in recommending changes, and I think that the entire group, before voting on the document, the fact that I previously made suggestions, made comments, and they were or were not incorporated, that doesn't mean that concerns with the document should not be considered by the group who's going to vote on approving or disapproving of the document.
Right. Yeah, I understand that. I just wanted to make sure that we were actually talking about language that was already in there prior to the work that was done on the document. So this is kind of carried over a little bit from the last time we did the update.
Yeah, I can't tell you offhand whether
Okay.
each of the paragraphs that I have concerns with are the same that were in there before, have been modified somewhat, have not been.
Okay. No, that's fine. I'm sorry. That was just my question. Matt, sorry to keep you waiting. Go ahead.
No, it's fine. I have a comment specific to this discussion. Joe, if I remember correctly, we were kind of tag teaming our way through the document. And I remember seeing that about halfway through the document, your approach changed from specific wording, red line edits, to sidebar commentary more so. And I just guessed that was a lack of time issue. So there was a lot of commentary you put in the sidebar comments, and everybody else who reviews those draft documents will be able to see that. I did go through all of your sidebar comments, Joe, and generally agreed with a lot of them. And so I took license with some of the wording in those sidebar comments you had created and made red line edits based on those in wording that I would agree with as well. And those should have ended up in this current latest version, as I understand it. So I'm not diametrically opposed to everyone taking a deeper dive and a little more time for review. But I think, Joe, most of the comments that you didn't provide red line edits for have been generally covered in this latest version, but it would definitely be good to review that.
Yeah, it wasn't a matter of time. It was more, there were some items that lent themselves to changes to specific suggested language changes or corrections or wording, perhaps make clear. There are other ones that are matters. A strategic plan is something that we're all deciding on, and it wouldn't be in my purview or Brett's purview to say this is the change we should make to the direction we're going, or and these would be the kind of things such as the role that the PUC should play and state control versus local control. There's something that is something for the group to decide. It's not for us say, oh, change it this way. And those would be the ones in which I had discussion comments. And some of those sections with which we are concerned remain and sound like they are suggesting that there is a need for statewide control and for even statewide purchase of CAD systems, with which we would have a concern.
Jennifer, go ahead.
Joe, at the beginning of this conversation, did you say that you've read only up to page 16 of the clean version?
Yes.
Okay. I would just ask that before you create your document that you want to send out to everyone, that you read the entire document. The reference that you just made to purchase a statewide CAD, that reference was in the old version. It's been taken out. And as Matt pointed out, generally every concern that you brought up in a sidebar comment, Matt reworded to meet the gist of your concern. And the new document is much different than the old document was. So I hear your concerns. I think your concerns have been very adequately addressed in the new version. And I would just ask that before you send out a conversation to the whole ESInet users group listserv, that you base it on the current document and not on the old version, because I think
I'm basing it on the current document at page 15. It says, while certain benefits could be realized under state 911 administration, says streamlined and cost-effective statewide purchasing of call handling equipment and CAD systems, they have not been enough to overcome the desire for maintaining local control. So that kind of discussion suggestion that would be a benefit, where I don't think that statewide purchasing of these types of systems would be, and I don't know how it would be funded except by taking away you'd have to reduce funding for ETC funding if you're going to, because we're not going to get additional funding from the legislature. Those are all concerns that flow from that. That's still in there. And yeah, I said I would get it out by next week, because I do need a little time to go through the entire 63-page document. And hopefully there aren't a lot more of these, but there are a few that are left that are of concern.
Well, I think that I don't see an advocation for that particular discussion point there. And I think that CCOA has been working on building, multi-agency purchasing agreements to reduce costs for their member agencies. I think that I see your concerns, but I think there's an awful lot of conjecture and what if built into that particular concern. So I just ask, please read the entire document, go through your red line. I provided the red line document link again in comments for those who want to go back through and see the differences between the old document and the new document. And again, I feel confident that we can find a path going forward together that adequately serves the needs for 911 in Colorado, especially if we continue to stay in dialogue.
I think we're beating this horse to death. I think it's fair for us to Brett to be able to present its concerns, and for a vote to be taken after they're presented. I think I doubt anyone is going to go back and read the entire 63-page document with all of the red line. I'm not going to do that, because who has that time? But I will show the discrete portions with which we have concerns, and the group will either agree that they're of concern or they won't agree.
I think this is a good opportunity for everyone to see how they feel about what the content is.
I agree. And I think having both emails go out will be good for everybody that's in this group. So let's move forward that way, and that's how we'll handle that. And by next month, hopefully we'll have a vote and know if we're going to move forward or if we go back to draft. And thank you, everybody. I do appreciate all the input and all the conversation on that. It's greatly appreciated. And echo what Jennifer said. All right. With that said, let's move to the next one. Again, Tracy's not here. Jeff Winkleman, I don't know if you have an update on 911 transfer across state lines. And I didn't check. Jeff, are you still here? Yes, you are.
I am here. Yeah,
Okay.
I don't have anything additional on that. Sorry.
Okay. Thank you. Tracy.
My memory, and I can't remember which meeting it's been at, there was a request for more detail state by state that borders Colorado, the status and the plan. Joe, I think it was a request you made, and I recently, maybe in the improvement plan call, but so long as that's on everybody's radar, that could we look and compare the transfers to Kansas, Utah, versus, it sounds to me like Wyoming might be a little bit more difficult challenge, but breaking it down by state would be very helpful.
Okay, I think we did have those conversations in this group as well. I think Tracy was looking into that, and maybe somebody else. I'd have to go back and look at a previous report on that to see, but I'm pretty sure that conversation did take place in this group, and it could have been in other groups as well.
Yeah, thanks, Kathy. I'm just not sure who's on first for providing that level of detail, be it, Tracy Dillow or Tim Kunkelman or whatever, but.
This is Rich Johnston. I believe it's Tracy. She's not on today. I can tell you that we did have internal conversations kind of talking through, there's really two sides to this really. One is the technology around it, how it would be done. And two is all the, numbers and tariffs and agreements of what that needs to be accomplished. So I know we had those conversations. I know Tracy continues to look at it. So I think she has the ball on this one, and we can follow up with Jeff, and I can follow up with her and let her know that we were asked for some progress, and it is expected on the next call at the latest.
Hey, thank you very much. I appreciate that, Rich.
Sure.
Yeah, thanks, Rich. I appreciate that. And with that said, we'll move on to the next one. This is, again, Rich Johnston, myself, and Matt talking about the loss of connectivity alarm at the PSAPs. I know Rich was going to look into what might be done or maybe have an update. And Rich, do you have anything on that?
Generally speaking, so the first, there were a couple of paths to this. One was kind of a local notification of perhaps could we have something locally like an alarm or a light go off, something very visible using the technology routers and equipment that we have the PSAP to alert the local PSAP that the connectivity is down. I did research that with the equipment that Lumen and Intrado have at the PSAP right now. It's not really a capability. We have a combination of routers and something called a PAD, which is a PSAP abandonment device. And neither one of those terminal connections would allow us to do that through the current infrastructure and the applications that we have. So that local kind of turn on this light or sound the alarm isn't available with the technology we have today. I think there are other options. There are alarms and notifications that occur automatically from an Intrado perspective and from a Lumen perspective, that if we lose a router or lose a path to a PSAP, our NOCs are notified, obviously. So I think that could be looked into further, is maybe creating a automated automated, and I'm talking from a technical perspective right now, an automated type of alarm, that comes from the system to an email or something like that on a PSAP side. So that I think is much more, I would say, short-term possible, because those notifications occur today. Again, to alert the Entrado knock and alert the Lumen knock that connectivity's down. So if we wanted to go down that path of, hey, I want a more automated alert, I think that request can go to Lumen. If the former wants to be looked at a little bit more, like something truly, some piece of equipment or something lighting up the PSAP, if I talk to my engineers, there's always a way to do something, but it would have to be developed. So I think we just need to choose a path there, and put the request into Lumen, and then Lumen and Trello can work it.
Okay, I think that's part of future discussions here on exactly what we want to see, for each PSAP. So I think we can probably add that to the agenda for this group, and move forward with that, and then have conversations with you, Rich, and or Lumen. Okay.
And maybe I just thought of this, so it's it's coming out as I'm thinking about it. But there are also, with our solution, when it's IP all the way to the PSAPs, there's still some PSAPs out there in Colorado that convert it to CAMA and then deliver it. But for those systems that are IP all the way to the PSAP equipment, there are things called options messages as well that occur between the core location and the PSAP that basically is kind of a keep alive type of scenario. So I would think, and this is something for the folks to investigate, is from a call handling perspective, there might be an option as well. So if the call handling doesn't receive that options, that keep alive message, maybe it can alarm. And because the call handling side of the house has a lot other options as to light poles and things of that nature, maybe that error could do something on that side as well. So maybe something for the folks to talk to their CPE vendors in parallel while we work with Lumen and Entrado on the ESInet side.
Okay, that sounds good. Thank you very much for that information.
Sure.
Anybody have any questions or comments regarding that? Okay. Next up is the parking lot. And I know we're hitting 11 o'clock here, so I apologize that we're going over. We have 6 items in the parking lot. These were put in there just so that we could keep track of things that we may want to bring out and work on at a later date. I know that there are several of these that are being worked on currently. I think Rich spoke to these at the last meeting. And I know that there are conversations taking place on several of these. Does anybody have any questions or thoughts of bringing anything out of the parking lot at this time? Okay. And I believe the ones that Rich talked about were 1, 2, 3, and 4, correct?
I am. So definitely 1, 2. I'm not sure if we talked about the credentialing.
Oh, okay. Yeah, sorry, 4. Yep.
But that is, so part of I3 is that you get a specific type of cert from this NIAC. And Lumen and Entrado are working through setting up that formalized process. What we've just so you know, what we've deployed up until this point, what we will continue to deploy until that process is set, is a industry standard security certificate, industry standard and accepted. So anything we've done I3 up to this point has had a certificate, just not through this process devised by the NIAC. So we are working with the NIAC on that, and that's expected to change, I would say, in the next 6 to 12 months, that we'll start getting them issued from the NIAC.
Okay.
And then 3, the fourth one, yep, that's part of these, update to the tariff discussions that we've been working through. Yeah, so now we've talked about 1 through 4.
Okay, thanks, Rich. Go ahead, Jennifer.
I just don't remember what the conversation was in this parking lot about outage tracking and notification system. Do we need to keep that on the parking lot, or have we addressed that in the last year because we updated the outage investigation process?
I think it still needs to stay because I think we're still working on the notification system part of it. I know the outage tracking has been updated, but in regards to the notification, I think that's something that we've brought up at the last several meetings of this group, that we need to know different notifications, depending on what's happening. I mean, we all know, if you lose a circuit and something gets rerouted versus a fiber cut, and figuring out those types of notifications and how that's going to happen. So I feel that it needs to stay in the parking lot right now.
Perfect. Thank you.
Sure. All right, and I think that's it for the parking lot topics. And I think I will hit Jeff up again since Tracy's not here, or I can't remember if somebody else talked about determining the cause and correcting the routing issues in the southwest portion of the state. If we've got any update on that.
I don't have anything on that. Is that the new business, the wireless 911 calls?
No, it's the
Arna?
one above it. We had some problems with like Grand Junction going to Aurora instead of Vale. We talked about it last time, and Lumen and Entrado were going to look into it. So I didn't know if there was an update on that.
I don't have anything. I don't see Andrew on the call. Oh, actually, Andrew, you are on the call. Do you have anything by chance?
I don't know that I received any examples. I apologize. I don't remember that one.
I haven't seen anything come through either.
Okay, I don't know if we had examples, but I know that we talked about it at the last meeting, and that's why I put it as a follow-up for this meeting. So maybe we can go ahead, Jennifer.
I can provide information to Andrew and Jeff outside of this meeting since we're running over, but it had to do with the outage that affected 19 PSAPs as a result of planned maintenance. And some of those calls were not routed correctly to the right contingent routing PSAPs. So I'll get with you guys afterward.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks,
Do you
Jennifer.
have the outage number on that?
You're muted, Jennifer.
Oh, I don't have it off the top of my head, Joe, but I can look it up while we move on.
Thank you.
Okay, on to new business. This again be for Andrew. Wireless 911 calls going to 10-digit lines. Any progress?
So this is the suggestion to go, to change those 10-digit numbers to non-dialable, which effectively gets rid of them. I got a little bit more information. The pros, obviously, people can't mistakenly dial those, or robocalls can dial them. And again, just like kind of a recap of the other side of that is the 911 PSS group can't call to test the audio, which there are obviously other ways to do that. No one can transfer calls to the non-dialable numbers if they're currently doing that, and Lumen can't. There's no way for us to identify if anybody is what the originating source might be for anybody who's calling those 10-digit dialable numbers. And one other thing that I was given a heads up on is, E911 to and from next-gen 911 transfers may have issues due to various discrepancies of complex translations routing. Again, nothing specific there. It's just, I think, some things that SME on our side had, noticed when other PSAPs in other regions have basically gotten rid of those numbers.
Okay. Any questions for Andrew on that?
Yeah.
Oh, Joe, go ahead. I'm sorry.
When you talk about the routing, would this affect condition 4 contingent routing? And currently we're transferring 911 calls from one PSAP to another through the ESInet, through the NG 911 core services provider. It's not a direct transfer to those 10-digit numbers. Correct?
Correct. Yeah. The only time those numbers, I believe someone would have to manually transfer a call to a 10-digit number. They'd have to know it and then actually do it. I don't think that that's the case
Andrew,
for anyone.
Andrew, that's one of the concerns that was brought up, is that for the agencies like ambulance and alarm companies that have that direct transfer number, that would no longer work for them. That was one of the concerns. Yeah, that was brought up earlier too.
Yeah, that functionality would just go away, and they'd have to essentially program 911 directly into whatever they're using to dial out.
Joe, to your point, and Rich, correct me if I'm wrong here, the transferring that you're talking about, Joe, not the transferring, the conditional routing would not be affected by this because that's all done via the core services. Is that right, Rich?
That's correct. So
okay.
And I may have missed a little bit up front, but I think there's two scenarios when we're talking about 10-digit lines. One is the scenario where it was a 10-digit dialable number into the 911 system. And I think that's the conversation we talked about, of looking more into possibly eliminating those due to like robocalls and things of that nature. And that investigation needs to be done to make sure that those 10-digit dialable numbers into the 911 system aren't being utilized for true 911 traffic. That's one thing. There's always, the second thing is there's always going to be 10-digit admin numbers. And we can continue to utilize those within our system, either outside of the NG system or within the NG system. There's translation lines, there's star codes that the PSAPs transfer to today, or for I3 would be URI, that will go to 10-digit dialable numbers. That's not what we're talking about, generally speaking here. I think we're talking about the 10-digit numbers that are dialable, that go into the 911 system and are treated as 911 emergency calls. To go back maybe a couple more steps, is if wireless 911 calls are going to 10-digit lines in a certain failure scenario, the only way I can see that happening is if a wireless carrier's trunks into the system are unavailable. So if those generating that call into the Lumen Intrado 911 system, the wireless carriers have a 911 trunk, and if those become unavailable and they can't get the call into the system, then the wireless carriers most likely have a 10-digit line, probably provisioned by cell site, to fail over to a PSAP. So once a call gets into our system, we have all that contingent and failover and redundant and diverse routing, alternate routing set up. But if a wireless carrier or another telephone service provider cannot generate a call into the system over their dedicated 911 trunks, then it may still go to a 10-digit number.
That latter part is going to be your 10-digit default routing that you want to work that way.
Correct. Absolutely. I mean, yeah,
so-
that's the last case scenario. Yep.
Yeah. So Andrew and I talked a little bit about the dialing. Well, they're not DIDs, but dialing in direct on the phone number assigned to, for lack of a better term, trunks to PSAPs, robocalls, etc. And I know he was going to be talking with some folks to look into further confirmation about whether or not it really is safe to turn those off. From our PSAP perspective here, currently we only use those every 5 to 7 years when we do a call handling equipment upgrade. And it sure would be nice to be able to eliminate those troublesome robocalls through those numbers.
But when they talk about complex translations, where I'm familiar with the complex translations is when a CO serving a PSAP becomes isolated and they put in that condition for contingent routing, are they routing the 911 calls, landline 911 calls to the 911 trunks or to the admin lines?
Well, that's the question, Joseph, I think, is what do you want that capability to be? I think the general consensus, and I'm not saying this is everyone, is that those dialable numbers that go into the 911 trunks are causing issues. Again, through robocalls and through misdials and things of that nature. And it does open up the system to possible security impacts if somebody gets a hold of that number. So the general consensus is to start eliminating that. From the best of my knowledge, Lumen has not started that at all. If that's the case, if we eliminate the ability to dial into the 911 system, then that capability goes away. And that the only option then for those stranded central offices, either if it's wireline or wireless, is an admin call, because we're eliminating the old way to try to get rid of all the other threats that may allow. So I think the investigation, and I don't want to speak on behalf of Logan, but the investigation is how many are out there, right? I think there's a dual investigation from a PSAP perspective. Once those numbers are acquired, then it goes to the PSAP to say, are you aware of anyone using these, or do you need to still have these, as well as Lumen doing an internal investigation saying, are these being used? And then a decision is made after that. So one is, what are they? Two is, who's using them? And that's a everybody investigation. And once that's completed, it's, what do we want to do next? Do we eliminate them to eliminate those other threats we were talking about, or do we keep them up knowing that there still may be some other issues caused by that?
That's my understanding, Rich, too.
Yeah, and Lumen's really left it to the individual PSAPs to decide that for themselves.
Yeah, and that's probably where it needs to be left so that each PSAP can make that decision. All right, any other questions or conversation on that? Okay. Moving on, new business, letter B. Believe it or not, everybody, I've been in this position for a year, and it is time to do elections for the chair, the vice chair, and the secretary. I don't remember exactly how this took place last year, so Daryl, I'm going to ask for your assistance with that. Yeah, if you could just guide me and help me out on how we move forward with this part.
I think typically it's been done pretty informally, so I think you would just open up for nominations from the people on the call. If anybody is interested in serving as the chair, vice chair, or secretary. I have typically served as secretary in the past. Either I or Jennifer could continue doing that in the future, since we have to keep the all of the materials anyway, since we facilitate the committee for the commission. But if anybody else wants it, that's fine too. So you could just open up all three positions.
Sure. Okay, with that said, anybody on the call have a nomination for the chair, the vice chair, or the secretary position? Don't all speak at once.
Well, Kathy, do you think you could let us know if you're interested in continuing in your position?
I have been asked that on the side already. I think if I remember correctly, the idea was to have somebody new in the chair position, vice chair position. I am certainly happy to continue on with it, but I don't want to take away from somebody else who could be in this position and learn as much as I have learned this past year as well. It's definitely beneficial for anybody who's in the 911 industry, and you'd be surprised how much you would learn being in this position. But I am open to keeping it. I don't want to take it away from anybody else who might be interested. So again, I'll ask any nominations for the chair, the vice chair, or the secretary position. I'm not sure if, I gotta look, is Danette on? If she wants to stay in the vice chair position.
Hey Kathy, it's Danette. I'm still here.
Oh, there you are. Sorry, I was just looking for you in the list.
No worries. I kind of have the same stance as you. Things are a little crazy here in my world, so I don't have a lot of time to add to my plate right now, but I definitely would help however I could. But I would nominate Kathy to stay in her role as chair.
Thank you, Danette. And I would nominate Danette to stay in the vice chair position and nominate Daryl or Jennifer or both to stay in the secretary position. Go ahead, Joe.
Can people self-nominate?
Yes. And with that being clarified, do we have any self-nominations?
You're stuck.
I'm guessing not. So, Daryl, can we just move forward with keeping myself and Danette and either you or Jennifer, however you want to do that as a secretary? Sorry, go ahead, Matt.
I was just going to move that the current officers be reelected by acclamation.
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion and we have a second.
Can I make a friendly amendment, even though I'm not a member? I would like Jennifer to be the secretary.
So amended.
Okay. Looks like I will stay in the chair position. Danette will stay as the vice chair and Jennifer will be the secretary for the upcoming year.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Congratulations to you too.
Congratulations.
Do we want to actually take a vote, or
do we need to take a vote? Yeah, I was going to ask, do I
motion?
need to take? Yeah. I guess I will take a vote on the motion to keep the current officers with the exception of it moving to Jennifer in this position. And I will just ask everybody to unmute and all in favor say aye.
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 The light at the end of the tunnel is a train, officers.
I still have to finish. All opposed or any opposed, same sign. There we go. Here comes the train. All right. Welcome to 2024 to 2025. All right. Next is open discussion. Questions or concerns from any of the PSAPs to Lumen? I think we kind of covered that and covered the next one too, but anything from Lumen to the PSAPs?
Nothing for me.
Thanks, Jeff. And last, public comment, non-voting members, welcome to provide any comments. Any non-voting members that would like to make any comments at this time? Okay, hearing none. Again, I apologize. I know we went way over. It is 11:23 and I will call this meeting adjourned. Thank you, everybody, and we will talk to you next month.
Happy New Year, everyone.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. Thank you.